My name's Emily, and today we're going to explore the topic of the calm eye of the storm, equanimity. And there's a little quote to kind of get us thinking about it. To find perfect composure in the midst of change is to find nirvana, from Shunryu Suzuki. So it's autumn now, we just had the autumnal equinox this past week. So there's always change, seasonal change happens right now a lot. And that time, and also the spring equinox, but the fall equinox and spring equinox, the days are equal in length to the nights. So there is sort of a balance happening in the way that we're experiencing the natural environment at this time. And that enters us into the astrological sign of Libra, which has its symbol as the scales. And, the old-fashioned kind of scales where, like, there's a fulcrum point and you put some stuff on one side and some stuff on the other, and it leans one way or the other, depending which way is heavier. So Norman Paulson, Sunburst founder, felt a strong inspiration to name certain vibrations, to associate certain vibrations with each of the astrological signs. And so equanimity is the one that's associated with Libra. And it works out really well because, we already have the scales and equanimity. Initially, you might call it like finding balance and centeredness. And we certainly also talk about balance a lot in many ways at Sunburst. We have an eightfold path where we want to try to think of all the different parts of our life. Are we attending to how we approach our work? Are we attending to how we approach our interactions with other people, and how we're associating with people? Are we attending to making time for meditation each day? So there's that aspect of bringing balance to our life. And that maybe is the type of balance that evens the scales out a little bit. But we're never going to get it perfectly balanced all the time unless we're in nirvana, enlightenment. When we reach enlightenment, maybe. But then why do we need to be in this manifest state where we are in physical form? What are we learning, or how are we serving through the manifest form? We will always have ups and downs, hots and colds. The seasons change at a minimum, let alone our emotions change, our circumstances change. We have daily needs we have to take care of. We have desires, we have hopes and visions, and we each have unique gifts that we bring. And all of those things, as we act upon them, may bring the scales into a wobblier state than perfect balance. So there's lots of things it's very, very, lots of writing out there about how to bring balance into your life. So that's great. That's a great thing to do. It's good for your health. It's good for your mental state. It's good for your physical health, all of that. Good to look at. The thing I want to talk about today is how to keep part of our consciousness at the fulcrum point. Because all of our life there's a lot of our life is happening out on the scales part. Things that happen that we like, that we don't like, that we feel really great about, things that make us concerned, things that make us laugh. There's all kinds of parts of the human experience that will keep happening. But can part of our consciousness stay rooted at the fulcrum point? That's the trick. So, I'm not here to say I have any of it figured out. I'm just here to give you some, because I'm not in nirvana, But I just thought what I would do is kind of I have a couple of quotes I want to read to you, and also just talk about some of the ways I've found for myself I can move back a little bit towards that fulcrum point. Because if we know, we're always going to probably sway away from it until we've perfected it. But, that may take, maybe it'll happen this lifetime. Maybe it'll take lifetimes. We don't know, But if the main thing is if we know how to keep moving towards it, it brings us that back to that place that's within us, the divine that's within each one of us, within everything we see, everyone we meet. We're made of the divine. It's the unchanging, timeless, pure bliss, joy, peace, unconditional love. That is the part of us that is always there. That's the fulcrum point. If we can get part of our consciousness to be rooted there as all these circumstances and things happen in our life, then we're practicing, embracing equanimity. So, just want to reiterate again, I'm not trying to tell you I have this all figured out, just ways that we can move back towards it. So I'll read a little bit from Norman Paulson's book, Sacred Science. These are some of his words about equanimity. Equanimity is the attribute expressing divine balance, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Equanimity is required to balance the dual forces of the divine upon the fulcrum point within you. This point is the place where the forces meet, the throne of the spiritual all-seeing eye. The most supreme knowledge, hardly known, exists for the spiritual athlete to feel, observe, and comprehend at this point, the smallest of all places, the divine center of consciousness. This center exists within each one of us. It is the exact center of the first light of creation. This is the point of concentration in meditation. When we meditate, we can put an intention to go to that space. And when we're living our non-meditating parts of our lives, we can put an intention to keep our awareness to that too. One of the ways when I feel myself being pulled by you don't notice it as much when you're pulled by the joys. It's much easier to just get swept away in them because they feel good. But when you get swept, you notice it when you get swept away by the sorrows and you start thinking, oh my gosh, how can I not feel this way anymore? But when you get swept into these things, for me, what I like to do is I just notice if I take a deep breath, all of a sudden, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm in my body. If you can bring yourself to the center of your body, where your body is, this is a start to bringing, I think, for me at least, how to bring my consciousness back to the fulcrum point. So first of all, if I notice that, I am breathing, all of a sudden I'm aware of my body again. I'm in the present. I'm not thinking of what I'm worrying about in the future, what I didn't like that happened in the past, or reliving some amazing thing from the past. I'm here in the now. And what do you hear? I hear the trees rustling. Do you hear the fans or something slightly whispering in the room? Or do you feel what it feels like sitting on the seat that you're sitting on right now? You feel how your breath feels in your body. You can feel it moving different parts of your abdomen, or maybe it's up in your chest, but maybe you can feel the cool air coming in your nose and that you can feel that it's warm coming out. You're centering what you feel, what you hear, what you are experiencing right now. And we can change kind of boost our thoughts into the direction of that divine center within us, the smallest of all places. I see the divine in myself. I see the divine in everything. And let's go ahead and close our eyes. If you don't already have a comfortable place to sit for a meditation, Go ahead and adjust your seat a little bit. It's nice for the more that your body is comfortable meditating, the less it's going to bring you into the present by complaining about pain. And you can actually imagine that your consciousness is sitting on there's a little bone that's shaped like a throne inside our heads. If you go down from the crown of the head, in from the temples, and in from the point between the eyebrows, that's about where it's sitting. Pituitary gland sits on it. And you can imagine that your consciousness is sitting in that. That's going to be our receptive point of consciousness. And your eyes can be at a point forward with your eyes closed, but if your eyes are moving all over the place, you have less focus. So let your eyes rest, pointing forward, maybe several inches out from your forehead. You can gently close them. Let's go back to our breath, being aware of our seats, feeling here in the now, feeling our breath in and out, and inviting the awareness of the divine into our consciousness. Welcome back into the room. When we meditate, we may fall into a reverie and experience a stretch of bliss and peace. And that is awesome. Go experience it, live through it. Don't jump out of the present moment of that. I know for me, the majority of my meditations include a lot of redirecting my thoughts and returning myself to that point of focus and the intention that I was with, returning myself to my breath, returning my eyes to a still state and my thoughts to the divine. And that is just as valuable of a meditation, because as we were talking about, the point is to know how to get back to the fulcrum. So being at the fulcrum is great, but if you fall off it and you don't know how to get back, that's a big problem. So knowing how to get yourself, having patience with your mind when it wanders, and just bring it back to the focus again is so important. So that's this phrase, maybe you've heard it, calmly active and actively calm. So when we're meditating, very calm, our bodies are really calm. It doesn't mean let your mind go crazy, actively calm. It means you might still need to be doing something internally to keep that center while you're sitting in calm. And calmly active is, I think, what we're striving for when we're trying to keep rooted at that center point as we go about everything. And as we feel the joys and the sorrows, some part of our consciousness stays rooted at that center point. Then we're calmly active. I was thinking about Curtis's talk last week on affirmations. If you didn't hear it yet, you can find it online. We have all the past ones are recorded and put online each week. That can really help as you go about looking around at life, having some things that you can say to bring you back to a reminder that the divine center is everywhere you're looking. And that can help us stay rooted in it. So here's a quote from Yogananda, and you may find some of these things that he says in it, maybe you'll grab as an affirmation to keep with you. This is from a book of compilation of writings and talks of Yogananda, Where There Is Light. As you look upon creation, which appears so solid and real, remember always to think of it as the thought of God frozen into physical forms. You can condition your mind to this realization in little ways each day. Whenever you see a beautiful sunset, think to yourself, it is God's painting on the sky. As you look into the face of each person you meet, think within, it is God who has become that form. Apply this trend of thought to all experiences. The blood in my body is God. The reason in my mind is God. The love in my heart is God. Everything that exists is God. The other part of Curtis's talk that really made me smile was the quote of Norm's. In the silence of my being, I hear the pulsating hum of all creation. That goes along with Yogananda's words there, and in that, I wonder if we might close together with an Om. Maybe 3 ohms, and see if that as a representation of the vibration of the divine in all creation. quote, the topic name, Calm Eye of the Storm, I didn't talk about that much. But you know, in a hurricane, the eye of the hurricane is calm, right at the center. That's where that comes from. All those crazy high winds of a hurricane, but the center is still. So that's something we can think of. And then yesterday, Craig gave a sacred geometry workshop, which is awesome. And I thought of, like, I come from tornado land, so the thought of swirling winds and storms is like, I don't really want to dwell on that. So, but he was showing the swirling galaxies too. And this is like a little bit gentler way to think of, at the center, the stars that are closer to the center don't move through space at as high of a velocity as the stars that are on the edges to keep up with the arm. They have to move much faster through space. And, you know, hair blowing back, you know, just picture. So, the center of the galaxy sounded more calm than the center of the hurricane. Didn't want to think about the storms too much. But, well, I hope that you'll each come up with something that grabs you about returning to the center. That's the most important thing, is that we each have a way that we're going to practice getting back to that.
Oh, come to me, thou shining sun. You are my life, my only one. Rise within my soul like fire. Let nothing quench this burning desire to see you, to know you, to hold you in my grasp. To stand the shore where oceans meet, of present, future, and past. Sun, in still of night, thy will be done. Let all the children sing, let all the heavens sing. Shining sun, you are my life, my only one. Rise within my soul like fire. Let nothing quench this burning desire to see you, to know you, to hold you in my grasp. To stand the shore where oceans meet, of present, future, and past. sing. Let all heaven sing. Let all the children sing. Let all the heavens sing. Let all the children sing. Let all the heavens sing. Oh, 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 oh.